So in this video we're going to be talking about how to restore one of these cheap Chinese lights, these solar reflectors. So as you can see here, this is a before and after. So our goal is to get it to look as much like this one as possible, and I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to follow some very simple steps here, nothing complicated. So hopefully we'll get this thing back in working condition. So the way we do this is by restoring the top there, and here we have a little motion sensor in the lights. So on the other one you can see it gets very crusty from staying out in the weather, and it's unable to generate energy due to that. So we're going to clean that up to make it hopefully look like this one. So this one was just as bad, if not worse, than this other one before. So first thing we're going to do here, you're going to get some sanding paper. The highest grade you can get is better. I had this one lying around, so I decided to use it. We're not doing anything very precise here, so you can use the highest grade you have available. If you have a lower grade, you should use it very delicately, not to damage the surface. And we're gonna be sandpapering this. The solution here is to remove any corrosion from the screws, like you see here. So the rust from the screws, we're gonna remove it with the solution I have here. You can get basically any rust remover solution for that. That is actually an optional part, and water for sanding. So we're going to wet sand this, so we need some water for the sanding process and some contact cleaning spray here. So this is basic electronic circuit clean spray, and a screwdriver set for removing the screws. And this is silicone, so I'm using a high temperature silicone here. Basically, because it's black and it's going to be in contact with the sun all the time, normal silicone will work here also, but we're going to use that to seal the gaps in the solar panel. So first thing you do, you're going to need a clean cloth. You're going to set it down so you don't scratch this anymore, so you have a nice surface to work on. We're going to get the screwdrivers out here and choose the right bit, and you're gonna try to remove these screws. If they're stuck, you can use something like WD-40 or something else to help move the screws, and we're gonna dip them directly into this solution to remove the rust. And while we get the rest of the process done, they're going to be the solution is going to be acting on them and hopefully remove all this rust while, by the time we're done. So these weren't too hard to get out. Just be careful not to damage the screw anymore since it's rusty. So you're going to have a bigger problem if you get one of those stuck from the screwdriver. So you can use a prying tool to get this open. It's very easy to come off the back there. So without a lot of force, you can just pry that open. And here is the inside of this thing. You have a basic battery here plugged into a little circuit board. And if you can't get this thing working, it's probably going to be the battery. Because if you clean that solar panel off, there's not a lot in here that can go wrong. So it's going to be the battery. So have that and keep that in mind. I'm going to swab a little bit of this fluid here to remove the rust that's in the screw hole here. The rest of them are fine. So let's see what we can do here to clean this up. So get that cleaned up the best you can. think I'm going to replace this right now so it doesn't stay open. So since I'm going to be dealing with water, I don't want water getting into this thing later. Let's move that solution over there. And now the fun part, which is actually sanding this thing. So get your sanding paper wet and get the actual surface wet also. Remember, this surface is waterproof, so there's nothing wrong with getting it wet. You can see it already looks much better. We are going to polish this a little later, but it already looks great. Be sure to get the edges here. Be very careful because you're going to be in contact with the plastic also. So if you really want to do a good job, get these edges also. Be sure to be very standard when you're going through this so you don't get any dips on one of the sides of the mirror. So try to keep an even hand when you're doing this. And you are going to have to apply force to get that gunk off of there. You're basically going to be shaving the top layer from this adhesive or this resin off. So you're going to have to apply some force. Again, be careful not to apply too much force to one side, not the same on the other. Try to keep it as even as you can. In my case, since the lights, the LED lights are pointing down, they don't get a lot of sunlight, so basically they're not in very bad shape. They're pretty great, so I didn't want to mess with them. So here is the rock cut uh, part here. It's not really done yet. I'm also going to remove this badge because it just doesn't look that great. The sun's been hitting it and it doesn't look great, so I'd rather remove that than keep that on. It's going to give it a better appearance. All the paper is already very dry, and you can see it just kind of turns to dust when you remove it. That's also the effect of the sun. Now I've had this light here for about 2 years. So just clean that off best you can. So as you can see, the other one, they're kind of looking very similar now. The gap here, we're also gonna shave or remove this gunk that's still left here. You can see little white spots here, so that's kind of hard to get to. So I really want this clean like the other one. If you're not too worried about that, you can just put the silicone on it later and it's going to cover it up. But I would recommend trying to remove it so you get a better, uh, so the silicone basically sticks better to the surface there. If you still have gunk on it, it's not gonna adhere as well. So let's just clean that off again. So I want to keep this as clean as possible because I'm going to be putting some liquid on it later to restore this plastic. So I already want to keep it as clean as possible. Less work later. So now we're gonna check this gap, see if it's clean. It looks a lot better, as you can see on the other one. That's the final one, what it's gonna look like. So now we're gonna polish this. I'm gonna use one of these little drills here, and we're going. So I didn't have any polishing paste, so I just used normal toothpaste. Don't kill me here in the comments, but it's just something I had on hand. So I'm just going to get it wet uh, because of the texture I need, and I'm going to use this little polishing bit to polish the actual mirror surface. It's again, this isn't a high precision job here, so this is going to give it a much better appearance in general, and the efficiency is probably going to be much better if we do this even with the wrong polishing paste. So in my opinion, it is worth it. So any one of these little drill sets that you have will work. So you don't have to go out and get anything expensive. I do use this for a lot of these projects, so I highly recommend getting one of these. There are a lot of brands out there. You can choose your own, see which one is the best fit. So we're just gonna spread this on evenly, and be sure to get it wet, or else it's just gonna basically tear up your little sponge head there, the actual polishing bit. So you really need to get this wet enough so that it slides and polishes. So the reason I use the toothpaste is the abrasion factor. It's made to lightly be abrasive on your teeth, so it should work great for this. So here you can see it looks pretty good for toothpaste polishing solution I came up with here. Looks much better than before. It has kind of a mirror finish. Just be sure to get all that toothpaste off, or if you actually do use the right thing, get whatever is left over from the polishing paste or whatever you use. Now, I do think that you will be able to charge your device again without doing this, but if you do have these tools on hand, I recommend you polish it. It is going to look a lot nicer after you're done. So I got toothpaste on everything, even the after one. And let's check out our screws here. Let's see if they're done. So they look good. So let's put them back in. Yeah, this looks pretty good. So get all the gunk out of the little crevices there. We need to apply that silicone on, and we don't want anything in this little gap. That's gonna make it not adhere as it should. So I can still see toothpaste up here. Okay, that's clean enough. Let's put our screws back in. So this thing is looking pretty good. But I still have some toothpaste in the gaps here, which I want to fix. So I'm going to put the screwdriver in here, and using the cloth and the tip of the screwdriver, I'm just going to clean off these gaps here to remove any leftover residue, because I really want that silicone to get in there, and if you leave anything in there, it's just going to corrode it, or corrode whatever's under it. So here we apply the silicone. Be very careful when applying this. Usually if you can't cover an area well, it's because they're not using enough. Don't worry, because we're going to clean that up later. The access silicone, we're just going to clean it up later with some rubbing alcohol and cotton swab, so you can use that to clean that off and just finish it off better. So it still looks kind of oily from the silicone residue here. We're not going to worry about that because after this dries off, and we'll polish this off with a cloth very carefully not to remove the silicone, uh, but that's going to look a lot better. So this is the finished product. After all of these steps, you just let it dry, and I did apply some restoring fluid here, basically some car products. Just one actually that restores plastic for cars. That's why this one has this black polished look. Nothing else. It's just apply one of those plastic restores, and you get a very nice shine. And we'll see how long this lasts. But it definitely looks like it's brand new. Looks a lot better than it did before. And if you do this whole step and it still won't work, then you probably have a dead battery, which you can replace. I've found that these batteries, you can buy them online, but depending on the price, it's just cheaper to buy the whole thing new than actually replace the battery. But it's up to you. On this one, if it doesn't work, I'm probably going to get the new battery just because of all the work I put into this to restore this. So you get that satisfaction of actually knowing that you uh, brought something back to life. And it's not a hard project. Just take your time and you can get this done pretty easily. If you have any questions, post them down in the comments. If you like this video, give us a like. And you can suggest other projects or anything else you'd like to see on this channel. We always try to post new projects. And remember to subscribe so you get all the newest ones. I'm always basically breaking and fixing something, so I'm pretty sure you guys will always have something new to watch here. Thanks a lot. See you in the next one.